It's an absolute and utter fool's errand to go back through history, decades, someone who's been passed away for 30 years, incidents which occurred 8 decades ago, and apply modern historical standards to something you can almost reach a century.
That's Will Cain, ESPN talking head and former pundit for Tommy Lauren's former network, The Blaze.
I'm suggesting that your standard, yours, only requires a handful of people to be a little outraged to go back and tear statues down.
Will's MAGA language speaking perspective on the topic of Kate Smith, who died 30 years ago, but whose songs include the lyrics, "Someone had to pick the cotton, someone had to pick the corn, someone had to slave and be able to sing. That's why darkies were born." The Philadelphia Flyers, rightfully so, have removed her statue. Yes, she had a statue outside their home arena. She performed God Bless America before Flyers games in the 1970s. Furthermore, the Flyers then, again, rightfully so, announced late last week that they would stop playing Smith's version of the song and cover up her statue. The fact she had a statue and the fact that her song was continually being played in 2019, knowing her racist past, is inexcusable.
And I'm telling you that by your standard, President Obama's statues would not stand to today's standards when it comes to gay rights.
Stephen
and that, to me, is
Obama got rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. What are you talking about?
Will Cain makes the comparison of a racist singer to Barack Obama's past on gay rights. This is not the first time that Will Cain has made a ridiculously illogical comparison.
The Steelers were held hostage 100% by Antonio Brown. He depressed his own value. I mean, I don't want to be inflammatory here, but it's like a suicide bomber. He was willing to take down the entire organization in order for his own individual benefit. Teams will have to make a calculation that you just basically said, which is we do not negotiate with terrorism.
What I find interesting, though, is when John Skipper was fired from ESPN, Jimmy Pitaro took over and said this: "I do not believe that we are a political organization. We are focused on serving the sports fan." Yet here we are. Once again, Jamil Hill was fired for having a political opinion. Michael Smith was also demoted from SC6 with Jamil Hill because they were getting too political. And yet ESPN puts out statements like this with Pitaro. When I look at this topic, the criticism that we're left-leaning, my job is to bring on people who have different thoughts. Will is a great example. I feel like we're pretty balanced right now, which merits the validity of theories that many, like the Clay Travises of the world, have glorified and amplified, that ESPN is too left-leaning. So basically those theories that, hey, they were too left-leaning, they need to be more central. And that's why Will Cain is there. Jimmy Pitaro is basically admitting to it without admitting to it. So here's more. From labeling Antonio Brown a terrorist and a suicide bomber, that's now okay because that's MAGA language. This is not excusable at all on the part of Will Cain. Yet, like the Flyers, the New York Yankees also took part in taking down Kate Smith. And they said that Smith's iconic 1939 version of the song God Bless America was no longer being played at Yankee Stadium. The song was pulled 3 games into the season on April 1st. Cain then ends with this:
"There's no debate about the nature of the songs that Kate Smith sang. No one is here to excuse them. What we're talking about is how we treat history and the standards we apply."
You know, I wonder how Will Cain feels about the Robert E. Lee statue being taken down in Charlottesville. I wonder how he feels about Columbus Day. In the perspective and story of Trayvon Martin and his public execution at the hands of George Zimmerman, Will Cain said this:
No. See, you shifted the debate to racial profiling, and that's not the conversation we were having. You're asking me to come on TV and be irrational.
What I really find irrational is your difficulty in even talking about race. Your difficulty when it felt
race
forced.
hasn't even been part of this conversation
Race
so far.
is always part of this conversation. That's the problem. You're trying to put these items into vacuums as if they're individuals and separated. They're not.
You see, Will Cain thinks the conversation should never be about race, because if it does go to race, he's pigeonholed. And I think Charlemagne the God, as we end, put it perfectly with this:
the only people who are upset about this are the people who want to make America great again. And by great, I mean they want to keep it racist.